17 not admitted without parents or guardian. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian. Under 17 not admitted without parents or guardian.
Good evening, fans of fantastic films, and welcome once again to the Drive-In Asylum double feature. I am Bill Van Ryn from fanzine Drive-In Asylum, and Sam Panico, my usual co-host, won't be here until the second segment tonight. And in the meantime, we've got these two gents, AC Nicholas and Gene from the Super Drive-In Monster-Rama. Welcome back to the show, both of you.
Hi, Bill. The plants are watching.
They like to watch.
Yes, they do. I have a friend here tonight.
A good friend?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Gene has a friend too.
Ah.
I'm the only one without a plant friend because I didn't think that far ahead.
I think the plants probably see more than they should in this living room.
My plants all die. That's why I can't bring any on camera.
Anyway, good evening, guys. Glad to be back.
Hi, Gene.
AC.
So this first movie tonight is called The Plants Are Watching, aka The Kirlian Witness. And what made you choose this, AC Nicholas?
Okay, there is a story behind this. I saw a small review of it way back in the day in Cinefantastique magazine, and they raved. They said it was great. It has a bonkers plot with bonkers science, but it's incredibly well made. And then it actually got reviewed on sneak previews with Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel. Roger liked it, Gene didn't, but they both thought it was pretty well made. And I waited for a couple of years to see it because even though it was an indie picture made in New York City, it was picked up by Paramount of all companies for release, but it didn't play much and completely died and fell off the radar. And I wound up seeing it on, and we'll talk about this after the movie in the second segment, on an over-the-air pay channel in Philadelphia back in like the early 80s. I finally got to see it. It was one of those elusive movies. So I've always remembered it, and I also thought this is a perfect movie for the Drive-In Asylum because, number one, it's bonkers, and number two, a lot of people probably haven't seen it or heard of it. One last thing, I didn't even know it was called The Plants Are Watching. It was released as the Kirlian Witness, and then later retitled after it didn't do well. And we'll talk about the bonker science. What is Kirlian photography?
Yeah, no one probably knew what that was. That's probably why it flopped.
Maybe that's why they changed the title to The Plants Are Watching.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly.
Too little, too late.
Exactly. I don't know this movie. I'll be honest with you. And George and I were talking about this afternoon, and we remember reading about it in the Psychotronic film guide, but actually not. I don't know that I've ever seen the film, so I may have to watch it then, right tonight.
I saw a posting online. Somebody posted a review and said the movie has a small cult. I beg to differ.
Yeah.
Other than Sam Panico, who reviewed it for BNS About Movies, his website, I don't know anybody who's actually seen this movie.
No, not at all. I agree with you. It's rare.
I hadn't seen it until I put that trailer together, and even then, I still haven't watched the whole thing the whole way through. So I kind of see the general idea of the plot, and it's pretty intriguing, and it's a beautifully shot film. For something that was so obscure, I didn't expect anything like this. It really is a well-made film with a soundtrack by none other than
Harry Manfredini of Friday the 13th. And it's a different
children.
Yeah, and the children. It's a different soundtrack for him. It doesn't have the usual
you won't hear that.
You won't hear that.
Which you'll either love or hate. This movie has no real sex or violence in it. There is violence that occurs, but it's just sort of like very low key. There's nothing horrifying.
Yeah, it's just very crazy. It's we were talking when we showed the last time I was on Four Flies on Grey Velvet about batshit science. That Four Flies on Grey Velvet is an example of that. This one is an even bigger example about plants and how plants are sentient. And a plant here is an eyewitness to a murder in this film, and we'll see how that plays out.
The plants are watching.
Yes, they are.
I can't wait to see what they're seeing with.
You'll see, Bill.
Where are their eyes? Well, other than that thing that Christopher Walken did on Saturday Night Live, remember that sketch where he had eyes on all his plants?
Yeah.
And there were big Google eyes on a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember that actually.
Yeah, but this was a real thing in the late 70s. It was a Russian scientist came up with this idea of the Kirlian photography, which was to photograph the auras of things and plants and people. And they either glowed blue or glowed red. And it was sort of a new age kind of pseudoscience thing that people were trying. And, you'll see it in the movie and we'll talk about it afterwards. I don't want to spoil it. But if you look at the opening credits to the X-Files, you will see an example of a fingerprint done with Kirlian photography. It glows blue, I believe.
Yes. I remember that.
But it's very cool and very weird. Of course, the science was debunked. I mean, plants really can't identify murderers and things like that. But it's certainly a fun movie, and the movie you'll see takes it very seriously.
Well, it was based on a real case where...
Yeah, it was. It was based on a real murder.
Yeah, I mean, it was a real thing that the police used this, or they attempted to use this. In the end, it was inadmissible because obviously it was batshit crazy science.
It's bonkers science. I think basically it was debunked by people who looked at it, scientists who looked at it and said, oh, the aura depends on, for example, how much condensation is on the photographic or the metal plate that they had to use, because what they do is they put the object on a metal plate, send a current through it, and then take a picture of it, or how much condensation was on the plant or somebody's finger when they took the picture.
Well, that is our nutty first feature of the evening. But there's something else that we can talk about, and that's kind of the reason why Gene is on the show tonight. Other than he's on the show sometimes,
right?
We've got this in store for you. The lineup for the April Ghouls Drive-In Monster-Rama has been announced, and boy, is it exciting!
Yeah, I'll start out by saying that the tickets are going to be going on sale 1st of March, and you got to get them and get them fast, because I talked to George this afternoon, and we're seeing a lot more traffic through the drive-in page, according to the owner, and we're also seeing a lot of traffic through Facebook. So we expected it to be big, but this is turning out already to be much larger than we expected. And these just kind of came together over the last month. We had talked about we talked almost a year ahead, and we had some names pulled and everything, and we knew that we wanted to do a stock and slash kind of thing for spring. Since we had done the 80s 2 years in a row, we wanted to continue with an 80s slasher theme, aside from one movie, which is of course 1970s, that I'll be mentioning. And this is an incredible amount of films here. I mean, we've got. Do you want me to start out with what we have and what we're doing with them, or how do you guys want to do this? Because I can go down the list here.
Well, I have the graphic up. I don't know if you can see it on this.
Yeah, there's the graphic. Okay, so coming back from the 2020, because of the COVID restrictions, we were unable to do a show in April, and we ended up pulling Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Chopping Mall. So Silent Night, Deadly Night was always intended to come back for April, and this is the one that's coming back to. And then George is like, let's throw Chopping Mall right after it. Then we have Slumber Party Massacre 2, which we've had so many requests for. It's unbelievable. I mean, I will openly admit I'm not a fan of the Slumber Party Massacre films, but 1 and 2 are very particularly liked by a lot of people. So we've showed 1. This is the debut for number 2 on Friday night, and then we're finishing Friday night out with Sorority House Massacre, which kind of fits into the theme of victimized teen women, I guess, for that night. And then on Saturday, and this is a big thing that we were excited about. We're doing. He said, "Thanks, Noel. I appreciate that." On Saturday night, we're doing Maniac, followed by Maniac Cop, which was a no-brainer, because we thought, you know what, we're going to do 2 Maniac movies in a row, so you can kind of see the theme there. Toolbox Murders was one of the movies I pushed for a long time. It's a lot of fun if you guys have seen it. I think where was that? It's a Jersey film, right, Bill? Or was this filmed down in Jersey? It's a relatively, a local film in terms of like just across the state.
Which movie? Which movie are you talking about?
The Toolbox Murders. I know but the Prowler was also a consideration for Saturday night, and we decided to hold off on that to another show. And I'm pretty sure that was the one that was in Cape May.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But where was Toolbox Murders at? Wasn't that local too to that, or is that West Coast? I thought it was
West Coast. The Toolbox.
Was it West Coast? Okay, yeah. I know. Wasn't Wesley Ur was in that, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a great guy. I don't know if you guys have ever met Wes. He's fantastic. He's been coming to Pittsburgh for several shows with Kathy Coleman. In fact, today is Kathy's birthday. She's trapped with dinosaurs and Wes and probably drag queens in the land of the lost. And literally follow Wesley Ur on Facebook. You'll see a whole new dimension of the 2 kids from Land of the Lost you've never seen before. They're quite the get-abouts.
Yeah.
Yes, very much. And also we finish up with Silent Madness on Saturday night. And and that was a no-brainer. We wanted a movie for the final slot. And we had tossed several around, and we were on the phone, and we're both like, you know what? Silent Madness is definitely an underrated film that fits into the whole 1980s stalker category. And we were in love with the art. If you guys have ever seen the art from the movie, it kind of sums up what the entire experience is for the show. And that's pretty much it. So that's how it all came together, and we have some great stuff already that we're already talking about for
Margot and I like the same kinds of guys.
And Dad, yeah, and you know what? Actually, I'll tell you a story about him. You're sidetracking me, but I got a story about him actually. But anyway, though, there's some plans already in going forward for September. So I can't publicly talk about that right now, but it's going to be different than the usual September shows. George is all excited about it. Land of Lost Father. So he did one convention, and they have been saying that he would come out and possibly do more. Tim's going to wear a Santa suit.
I'm going to hold you to that, Tim.
I would like that. Please do.
Bill would like that.
Definitely. So, yeah. So, I mean, we're going to have a lot of fun with this. We're excited. Prices went up this year to $15 per night. They were $10 for many decades, because this is the 17th year for the drive-in shows. Not for the April. The April show, actually, I think this is 8. I can't remember anymore. But I've been wanting a push for 15 for a long time, because it really helps us plan better. So the drive-in owners decided this was a year that 15 would work better for them. So we just went along for the ride, and that's why it's happening. So buy them early. They're going to be on sale in March, possibly the first week of March, and buy them, because we're no longer guaranteeing space for anybody. They're selling out now. They're at capacity, which they were full. There's two different kinds of full. There's full, and then there's capacity. Capacity means that we can't fit any more in. Full means that we sold the amount of tickets that would be allotted, you know what I mean, per night. So to kind of give us some breathing room. But we've been going to capacity. There's simply no room. That's why they restructured the whole drive-in. That's why they moved the camping back. And the camping is available 15 per night. And
how many people usually camp? Like, I've never camped there.
I have no idea. I've had people asking me about what they're going to do for electricity and all that kind of stuff. They don't have independent hookups at all the posts, obviously. That's insane. But the camping has gone up a lot. And there are some local places you can book. There's a really creepy hotel up the road. I can't remember what it's called, the Vandergrift Inn or something. And they remodeled it that, before our people used to stay there, and they'd say, the owners leave when the sun goes down and no one's there till morning. And I thought, what a place, So no, that would not be on my registration list for a place to stay. So bed and breakfast that you can stay at, a couple of other small places around the area. And of course, what's the area out there that has the Holiday Inn? It's not Dormont. What's the town out there that has a Holiday Inn?
Delmont? Are you thinking?
Delmont has a Holiday Inn. It's relatively close. Otherwise, you can book in Monroeville, but again, that goes very quickly. And Monroeville is actually ideal, because you can go to the mall, you can visit the Living Dead weekend people at their store. There's 2 stores now in the Monroeville Mall, the Zombie Museum and Time Space Toys. And it's not that far of a drive to go up to. She says it's the Kiski River Murder Lounge. No, watch. You can go up in the city and see the locations for Night of the Living Dead too. So it's a good thing. That's it. The Vandergrift, Vandergrift is an interesting place. So I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying there's a lot of interesting stuff out there. It's worth just to drive around really on a Saturday afternoon and have a look at stuff. So good food too in the area.
Good food.
How many have you been to, AC Nicholas?
Oh gosh, I missed a bunch there for a while when I was working off the mainland. But I don't know. I mean, I think I was telling Gene before we started. I think we started, my wife and I, with number 4 of the Super Monster-Rama in September. It might have been 4 or 5, somewhere way back. I remember seeing it up. When did you guys show Blood on Satan's Claw, which you had a beautiful print called Satan's Skin?
I don't remember year per year. There actually, if you go, I manage the web page.
Yeah.
The page, and last year we had done it before. We redid it last year. We pulled all the graphics for all the shows, including the one that didn't happen, and it's all there. It was actually it was a British print.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was like the nicest.
It wasn't Blood on Satan's Claw. What was the print called?
Satan's Skin. It was the British title. Satan's
That was
Skin.
the first time I ever saw that movie. I had never seen that movie until that screening.
I love that film because it's really one of the first prime examples of folk horror that we
Mhm.
that we had, especially in the 70s. And around that time, in the early 70s, they were generating some really great movies out of the UK, and that was one of them. And it's loaded full of people. If you're a Doctor Who fan, it has Anthony Ainley, who was the master, and it has Wendy Padbury, who was Zoe with Patrick Troughton.
Mhm.
You know, it's like, wow. And what's her name? Angel Blake, the actress that played her.
Linda Haynes. Yeah.
She's on my bucket list. She's absolutely incredible. Right,
She's
and the fact that they just sort of, you know, the demon or Satan appears, and it's sort of like very mysterious. And when I was a kid,
it's so creepy. It's one of the creepiest demon renderings I've ever seen in a movie. You never really get a clear idea, even of what it looks like. It's just like this amorphous, hairy thing with a weird face, you know.
Yes.
And that movie was so shocking to me. I couldn't believe the scene where they rape and murder that little girl.
Wendy Padbury.
I couldn't believe how, like, I mean, that was really, it went pretty far, I thought.
Well,
and it was shocking.
And you know what? Linda Hayden, you know, the close-ups of her face when the girl's being raped and stabbed, and she's like,
yeah,
you know, doing this. It's like, for what, 1972 in the UK, that was anywhere in the world, that was completely outrageous. You just simply did not, you didn't do those kind of things back then. I mean, it was definitely a rated X film, you know, in the UK. And I remember seeing it as a kid and being astounded by the movie. I can't remember if I saw it on television or if it was, you know, a VHS rental. I can't remember. It might have been. I don't remember.
I saw it on Chiller Theater for the first time. It was cut up, but it was still incredibly strong. They showed a lot of the violence, and it was bad. You know, that's one of the holy trio of the folk art horror films: Witchfinder General, Wicker Man, Blood on Satan's Claw.
Chiller Theater in Pittsburgh. Is that where you saw it?
Yeah, Chiller Theater. Chili Billy showed it.
I might have actually seen it on there. I can't. You know what's funny was I knew Bill very, very well, and when I first met Bill, I was rattling off all these movies, and he didn't know what they were. It was really funny. And I go, yeah, I remember that time you showed like Blood on Satan's Claw. And, you know, it was completely shocking. I think the one big movie that I really was enthusiastic about was Children Should Play with Dead Things. And you know, I remember seeing it on Halloween, and of course, Shriek of the Mutilated.
Oh.
Every time I come on the show, I have to push that film. You know, there's a remastered version of it out from Vinegar Syndrome. It's one of the most incredible releases I've ever
was
seen.
A day one purchase for me.
Oh my God, me too. And you know what? It's sort of the crystal clear clarity of the transfer almost takes away from the cheesiness of what we've seen back. And Bill and I don't know if you watched it with me or not, Bill. I don't know if it was on when you were over one time, but like that whole week, I think I watched it like 5 times. In fact, I'm kind of in the mood. It's a cold Saturday night in Pittsburgh, and maybe it's a good night for Shriek of the Mutilated.
It is not. It's a good night for The Plants Are Watching, which is our first feature tonight.
You know, you guys aren't going to be here all night, and I need to be kept company with a horror film. So,
do you have any plants?
Yes, I do.
Are they watching?
No,
they are.
They're telling stories.
That's what we're trying to tell you, Gene.
That was appropriate stories. What they're going to do. So,
AC Nicholas knows all about it because there's one lurking over his shoulder right now.
And I want real quick here. I want to say hi to my friend Pete in Scotland. If he's on tonight, Pete, thank you for your support. It's great seeing you. And I want to say hi to Mr. Big Paws and some of the other guys out there tonight. And thank you for tuning in and watch it every week because Bill does Bill and Sam, and you know, and you as well. But I mean, you know, they're the main guys. They do a great job every week. It's a joy to be able to tune into this every Saturday night and see these movies and the insightful stories that the two of them have. Bill puts so much time in the work for this, the media for this. It's just astounding. And you do a great job, Bill. It's beautiful. And I'm glad you have so many supporters and you continue to support us as well. That matters very much. So
I love the show too. I mean, it keeps me out of the gutter and the bars on Saturday night, and it is so much fun. I've met so many nice people, and a shout out to Paul in the UK, who after my last time on the show in January had a really great comment about me, saying I was his favorite co-host. So thanks, Paul. That was really sweet of you. Really nice to say that.
I saw that comment.
I have to tip my computer screen so I can read because I'm nearsighted and my contacts are malfunctioning tonight. So yes, Tim, any night is a good night for Shriek of the Mutilated. Absolutely. What a great film. It's a crowd pleaser.
I wrote about going to that one on a double feature with Blood-Sucking Freaks at the Budco Goldman in Philadelphia in the 80s with a friend of mine. And you can imagine that double feature at an urban grindhouse.
You actually saw Shriek of the Mutilated in the theater. That's
yeah, I did.
Tell us about that. I mean, my first experience with that film, I think I'm 99% sure, was on Chiller Theater here in Pittsburgh. And you know, I don't know how young I would have been. I mean, there's actually a website up that lists everything. The gentleman that did it, John, that did the website, did an incredible job. I don't know if you've been to Chiller Theater Memories, but he went in and he researched every single film that was ever screened. And except for if, say, that particular week, it didn't show up and it was not recorded. So it's as accurate as it can be. And, you know, Shriek of the Mutilated, that was one of the ones I talked to Bill Cardille about, and of course he was just like, okay, you know, whatever. But I was like, you know, it left me so scared at the end of that movie with the whole cannibal cult. If I ruined the plot for everybody, but I don't care. You should have seen this movie by now. It is in consideration for a possible. It is in consideration for a possible screening at the at one of our drive-in shows in the future.
Make that happen, Gene. That's a good one.
Oh, haven't you done that yet?
No, we've never shown it yet. And you know what? We the fact that they've digitally remastered it, you know, makes it all the more easier now for us to be able to screen it. Also, I had a couple questions this afternoon on our you know, our email through the site about 35 millimeter and what is its future with the event. And right now we're sticking with DCP because 35 millimeter prints have not been, they're really, you know, give and take, you know, and there's a lot of people out there that love the nostalgia of it. And it was rough after decades of kind of moving away from that and going to DCP, but the DCP is so much easier for us to handle. Because if you guys have ever screened any 35 millimeter prints, you know these massive canisters, all this stuff comes in, right? And it's a lot of work for the drive-in and for us, and in the fear that during the film it's going to snap and break, and then, you know, you're renting it from somebody, and if you damage their print, it's a problem. And ultimately, in my opinion, these movies didn't look like this when we saw them back in the 80s. They looked more like the DCPs, which we're showing. So you get the nostalgic experience with 35 millimeter, but you're not getting the film quality of what you experienced 40, 50 years ago. So that's my argument why I don't have an issue with showing DCP. You know, I'm good with that.
I think your stuff looks beautiful, Gene. I mean, Horror Express was phenomenal. I'm still raving with Bill about that.
I'll tell you what, that was I think the only one I think that was the only one that that was repeated from previous shows, actually. And it was a no-brainer. It was something that we absolutely would bring back in a heartbeat. And there are other movies that are in consideration to come back, possibly in September and, you know, and in the future. So that's it. And George said to tell everybody hi tonight. So I hope he's tuning in. So hi, George.
Hello, George.
Hi, George.
Say hello to Ringo, Paul, and John for us.
Well, Ringo, you got an ad gallery for us, mate.
I do. I'm not Ringo. It's Pete Burns of Dead or Alive again. Hello.
Hello.
I've come all the way from Liverpool to do this ad gallery, which really there's not much to look at here. It's just sort of boring, actually. It's the only ad that Bill could find that had an actual image for this first feature that you've so wrongly chosen tonight. I think it's absolute rubbish. It's a rubbish film. But
Look
here
at
it
that,
is.
the original title, the Kirlian Witness.
Kirlian Witness, whatever that means, who cares? And the other title it's known by is The Plants Are Watching, which really is where are their eyes? It's a very strange concept. Here's a clipping he found from New York on Bleecker Street. I've been there many, many times because there's no reason to go there now.
I have. Bleecker is a legendary place. I love
Legendary things have happened there, just like Liverpool, which is where I'm from. But never mind that. This is about the ad gallery. Like I said, there's not much to look at here. So we'll bring up the other image. Where are you? There you go. Bleecker Street. The Kirlian Witness, which is really the title of this movie. Was I don't know who put it out as The Plants Are Watching. Do you?
No idea. I didn't even know it was The Plants Were Watching until you decided to put it on the show at my request, and you were showing me some of the stuff about it, and I looked it up. And I think what happened was it got re-released to like art houses back sometime in the 2000s. And I think Corinth Films reissued that's an art film distributor at the time, reissued, but it was a Paramount film at the time, that way back in when it was first released. Surprising.
Anyway, enough about art house. Who even knows what that means? Here's a good review for the Kirlian Witness, which is from Detroit when it was released in 1981. Which is right around the time our second single came out. It was called I'm Falling. And here it is in Detroit. Someone thought it was good enough to write good about it. I don't know. Maybe did they see the same film I did? I don't think so. And here it is in Miami. 1978, which is the earliest that we found it playing. Here it is. There was no ad, but there was this mention of the Beach Theater. So here we go. All right, so we're back to the beginning. That means I'm out of here. It's Pete Burns of Dead or Alive. We'll see you again sometime. What happened to Gene? Did anything happen? Did you freeze?
No, I'm here. Why?
Because your face was just kind of like, not moving there.
Transfixed in time.
No, I'm watching. I can't see the comments that people are making because of my contacts, so I have it rolling on my phone. So you guys see me keep looking at my phone. I'm sorry, but that's it's like that's my phone is like my teleprompter. You know what I mean?
Lee's been to the Beach Theater.
It's my teleprompter. So.
Well, tonight's first feature actually played theatrically at the Beach Theater, which, like you said earlier, AC, this really did not play that many places, even though there were some ads to look at there.
Yeah. This is literally a film lost to the sands of time, and we're bringing it back tonight for a whole new generation to, I don't know. You're either going to love it or you're not. That's what I predict.
Well, the fact that you're doing that doesn't matter. The fact that you're doing an obscure film and sharing it is very
we try to do around here, right, Bill?
Yeah, I mean that's
what
the show's about.
Right?
I mean, it's talking about these movies that made a difference in our lives, and some of them are well known and some of them aren't, but many of them are just sort of.
And some of them are Damnation Alley.
Well,
yeah.
Damnation Alley is somebody's favorite film. I don't know who it is, but. So yeah, that's why we do what we do, is just to talk about this stuff, to keep it going. Maybe there's people that haven't seen these films, or like me, I haven't seen this first film, so it's a learning experience for me too. If anyone else is,
I want to point out this film has a small cast.
Plants
Uh-oh.
have eyes. Ha, that's great.
Wait, what did you say?
I'm reading one of the comments that said the plants have eyes is what it should have been called. Yeah, then it would be the potato people, and that would have been a movie
Yep.
from one of the Brady Bunch episodes. Do you guys remember when Peter was watching the attack of the potato people or invasion of potato people?
It is a
Yeah, we
small
can think.
cast tonight,
Unbelievable.
and
It
how
has
many
Lawrence Tierney in it. It has Lawrence Tierney, Bill. He has one scene.
That's right, from who was last seen in Midnight,
Hmm
John Russo's Midnight. Mm-hmm.
Wow. We screened
Yeah,
Midnight.
What,
great.
Gina, we
Wow.
boring you? You're yawning. You're yawning on camera. It's a big no-no.
No, I'm not. I can't see anything because
I haven't yawned since a George Michael concert I went to.
But anyway,
Okay, so we may have
well,
noticed that Sam
anymore.
Panico is missing from this segment. He will be here on the second segment, and in the meantime, he left this lovely little drink video, which we are going to play for you right now. So take it away, Sam.
The plants are watching.
Hey, welcome. This is the first drink of the night. This is for the Kirlian Witness, aka The Plants Are Watching, a movie that's going to blow your mind. The only giallo movie about psychic plants I've ever seen in plant photography and 70s weirdness. So let's make a drink. It's green to go with the plants, which is a lot easier. Also, we're in the middle of winter, so it's kind of hard to find a lot of like planty ingredients. So let's keep it simple with an ounce of Midori. We're going to do an ounce of straight up vodka and an ounce of white rum. Also, that green can keep pretty strong in there. And finally, let's stir those first three ingredients.
Chlorophyll.
Yes, this is going to keep the plants in my body alive. And then we top it with some
5 ounces of
or so
lemonade.
of lemonade. Lemonade.
Stir it again.
That cool, refreshing drink. There we go. Cubby says, "Come on, Dad, stir it. Stir it up good."
Looks like a ecto cooler.
It is. Ah, the plants are watching. The plants are drinking. Enjoy the first movie. I'll see you guys for the second one.
Wow, shit was getting serious there with Cubby. I swear. Anyway,
I made the drink. Look at how pretty.
Did you really?
I did, yes.
I did too. But you're gonna have to wait because
Okay.
Sam's drink videos are very efficient and they run
Yes,
down
they are.
to like 60 seconds. And it's like, whoa, I'm not ready for this.
We'll wait for you, Bill.
Oh, Gene, you're back.
Gene, what are you drinking?
and to fix his contact lenses, and then I was, I was off camera. Damn it! You ruined my image. Fucker.
Gene, I've never known you to drink anything alcoholic.
Not for years.
Ever. Like I never.
No, not for years. No, well, I have. But it's not for years. I just several issues with my stomach, like the price of alcohol. I don't mean like the cost. The price of alcohol, what it does to me, is not worth. It just isn't. I feel like shit the next day. I'm miserable. It's just.
Well, I hope you don't
it.
feel like shit tomorrow if you partake in this beverage that Sam Panico concocted for us. So.
Well, this is my
Pazuzu.
pretend drink. It's iced tea. So.
Pazuzu.
There you go.
It is delicious. How do you say delicious?
Good.
Lovely.
Mm-hmm. That's
So,
pretty good.
Since we can't just cut right to the movie and we have to do something. So what are we going to talk about?
You know what we ought to talk about? We ought to talk about movies with good plants and movies with bad plants.
Oh,
and
okay.
I could only think of one other series of movies that had a good plant, and that would be the Guardians of the Galaxy movies with Groot. But because most of the plants in movies are bad.
That's true.
Yeah,
Like Day of the Triffids, I'll start out. There are bad plants. Classic.
yeah,
bad.
we need a good copy of that movie on Blu-ray. So that's going to be where I'm going to go with this, with my commentary. You know, we're still sitting here in 2023, and there's no great copies of that movie on Blu-ray. They're not out there. You know.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is.
Nobody has particularly, none of the, you know, I would think the Studio Canal would have bought the rights to it because they fucking own everything else, you know.
They sure do. So you got that one, and how about From Hell It Came, which was the Caribbean tree?
Yeah,
the
you know what?
50s movie?
It's right here on my shelf. That was
I
a
love it.
classic film for Saturday afternoon in Pittsburgh. Absolutely, and I just watched it last week. Matango, also known as Attack
of the Mushroom People. I was going to say that. Amazing.
What was the Vampire Tree with Cameron Mitchell?
Yeah, we screened that at the drive-in.
You guys ran that.
Island of Doom.
Island of Doom. And then wasn't it?
I saw that as a kid and couldn't wait to see it again. And I would always catch the last fucking 10 minutes of it. And it was horrible. And finally, I saw the whole thing, and it's still in my heart. We screened that at the drive-in. That's an amazing feature.
That is good. How about Little Shop of Horrors, of course?
Yes, the original.
Ooh, yeah.
Isn't there a killer plant sequence in Dr. Terror's House of Horrors or Torture Garden, one of those Amicus films?
Yes.
And there's a plant in Tales of Witness Madness, too, I think.
Yes, there is.
I'm so glad someone mentioned this movie with Joe D'Alessandro, The Gardener, a.k.a.
The Gardener.
Seeds of Evil.
Another great
Seeds
film.
of Evil.
Yes.
Seeds of Evil. Talk about a movie where nothing happens. Well, I think that's the movie that really...
actually, something happens. Joey D'Alessandro's in it. That's the whole purpose, you know?
It wasn't happening. I didn't think. I saw it on. That was a Fight Night movie on WOR.
He was the iconic Warhol piece of trade back in the 1970s. You know, he was dumb as a box of rocks, but he surely existed for his
tree in
body.
Poltergeist was so scary. That was one of the scariest things in the movie.
Another one, a recent one, was that Scott Smith book made into a movie, The Ruins. That was the one with the talking plants down in Mexico or wherever they were.
The Thing finally, someone said it. I was waiting to see who would get it first.
Does the monster from Blood Island, the chlorophyll man, does he count because he had chlorophyll?
Oh,
yes,
God.
yes.
He's a plant. Okay. What else? Evil trees, evil plants. Burnt Offerings. That's a good one, Steve.
Does Chief Woodenhead count?
What
He was made from a tree.
What is the folk horror film that came out from the UK a number of years ago with the weird forest and people dying and their bodies went in trees or something? Does anybody out there remember the name of that one?
No.
Sorry,
Color Out of Space. That's a good one. But I'm reading the comments here. Mike Justice says The Evil Dead has vines. That's right. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, that's pods. So Ed has a good call there.
They play from Cleopatra in the Addams Family.
What other?
The
forest and H.R. Puffin stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, the Wizard of Oz.
The trees and H.R. Puffin.
The mean trees in the Wizard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, them too.
Mm-hmm.
They scared me. Like, that was probably one of the scariest parts of the movie for me, was the trees. Even though they weren't really all that threatening, just the fact that they were talking really freaked me out.
Well, I like that. If you remember in Wizard of Oz, I like the mechanical vulture or whatever it was with the glowing eyes. That was something that, you know, when you were a kid, you could only see it once a year, and I always looked for the scene with the vulture and all that stuff. I still have nightmares about those flying monkeys. I think they're one of the most terrifying things that ever existed. I'm sorry. They're just weird as shit.
A couple of folks have said the moss on Stephen King. There you go, Mike Justice, and also Scott. Yeah, definitely.
So what are you guys wearing tonight? I'm wearing Let's All Go Watch Horror Movies. So what are you guys wearing? Just quick segue.
Oh, I got old school New Line Cinema here.
Ooh, look at that.
The old logo. Look at that. Old
The house that
logo.
Freddie built.
Right. Robert Shea and Mike DeLuca and those guys.
Mine is a synth pop band, Annie called Alpha. Cha-chung.
So what are you wearing? You're wearing a synth pop band.
Yes, Gene.
Okay.
Since there must be a delay in the broadcast. It's Annie called
There is.
Annie called Alpha.
Okay. I
There's-
can't think of any other plant movies.
Yeah, I can't. There's George in the chat. Hi, George.
Oh, hi, George. Yeah, we were talking about From Hell It Came.
Mm-hmm.
There's another killer tree movie that The Guardian.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
William Friedkin. Yeah. Boy, that's a...
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait. Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Mhm.
We already
Sea
talked
Paws.
about that.
Really? Oh, well.
Yes, Gene. It was while you were yawning.
All right, Bill, you're unnecessarily mean to me tonight.
Yeah, we mentioned Little Shop of Horrors.
I hate those movies. I can't stand the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I can't. I'm not a fan of those films.
Oh.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I sort of like the black and white one, but I know you're a huge fan of the 70s remake, and I'm just not a fan of that movie. And it's one of those films that Hollywood has been doing way
Did you
too
see
many
it in a
times.
theater when it was current?
I saw, yeah, I think in the 70s I did, yeah.
I saw it when it was in theaters. It was around Christmas time, 1978. And that ending is just burned into my brain. It was one of the scariest things I had ever seen. And for a PG movie, that was back when PG could get away with a lot of shit. There was frontal nudity from Brooke Adams, for one thing.
Mhm.
I was like, oh my God. And then there was a scene where Donald Sutherland hacks his clone's head open with a shovel. It's really gory, but it's PG. So that movie was a touchstone moment for me. I can't say enough about it. Plus, I really do think it's good. I mean, it's the kind of movie you can go back and watch over and over again, and you find something new in it all the time.
I think it's that rare sequel that's as good as the original.
I like it way more than the original.
I think a lot of people do.
Actually, I'll tell you what. I like Abel Ferrara's version.
Yeah.
It's called Body Snatchers.
It wasn't
the one
bad.
that's set on a military base with Meg Tilly and Forrest Whitaker, and
Yes.
that's the one where Meg Tilly has the great line after she's turned into the pod person.
Yeah.
Where are you going to go? Where are you going to run? Where are you going to hide?
She was mean. She was really mean.
She was annoying.
She screamed.
Somebody says, Scott says Swamp Thing. Yeah, we forgot about Swamp Thing for sure.
Die, monster, die. Isn't that Color Out of Space?
Yeah. That is Color Out of Space.
It's an adaptation. Absolutely. Yeah.
So those are killer plant movies that we could come up with off the tops of our heads.
Ooh,
Thanks,
Mark
everyone.
Dockham had one. The Venus flytrap in the Freak Maker. Yes.
mentioned that.
Yes. That's another great underrated 1970s
Someone mentioned that earlier
UK
as
horror
Mutations,
film. It
not
really is.
Freakmaker.
That's
Yes.
Same movie.
Mutations.
And of course Tom Baker,
Mhm.
Tom Baker's in it, and that's my favorite Doctor, so that's important for me. And there's killer plants in what? There's some in Angry Red Planet. I mean, just you can go down the list of 1950s, 60s films where they show up sometimes. So,
Oh, sorry, Tracy, we missed your comment on Freak Maker, so you get a gold star. Yeah, that's a good movie. A lot of fun.
Someone watching on YouTube mentioned it too as Mutations. I don't know who that is. SGS 2003.
Yeah, and George said The Lost Continent. Don't forget about the Goofy
Oh, that's true. The
Sea
Hammer
movie.
film, right?
Thanks to everybody watching, by the way. It's great to see all of you out there in the chat every week, and some familiar names. And there's a lot of people watching tonight. We had almost 50 viewers. So there's some lurkers
Becca
out there.
Panico says Troll 2. How could we forget Troll 2?
Yeah, I guess. Well,
Don't
we were
eat the
talking about killer
plants.
plants, but yeah, they turn
Don't
them
eat
into
the
plants.
plants.
Yeah,
Well,
they turn them into plants.
yeah.
I think Troll 2. I mean, why waste an opportunity to talk about Troll 2?
I didn't realize that film had such a following. I mean, I saw a piece on the internet about it. I had no idea that it
What
had
Troll
such a
2,
cult following.
Gene? Yeah.
Either of them. They're it's a whole phenomenon that all these movies that were out in the 1980s, we didn't find all that fascinating at the time, have gotten vastly popular now because younger people didn't get to see them live. They experienced them with their, or they did see them when they were very young, and now they want to see them again. So it's a retro thing is what it is. I don't dislike the Troll movies. It was just something that we looked at and went, it's another Gremlins ripoff. Who gives a shit about it, It's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
Same with Ghoulies. The Ghoulies
I never got into
films
that
and
shit
Spooky.
because I had seen Gremlins and
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of it. So I wasn't interested in those little monster movies.
I think Critters was a huge success actually, and we screened that at the drive-in too. Critters did very, very well back in the day. It was probably because it had a great
It's
had
good.
a great,
I mean, I've since gone
budget,
back and
so they
seen
were
Critters.
able
I
to
think it's a really good movie.
I do too.
Wasn't that
Yeah,
Steven
exactly.
Spielberg's
So-
original concept for
Yes.
E.T.?
Yeah, a bad evil alien, right?
Yeah, I mean the original concept for E.T. was called Night Skies, I think, and it was a horror movie about
That's right, Bill.
yeah, but there was like a good alien in it
Right.
that wanted to help, and I guess he liked that better.
Then that film, my dislike for E.T. started when back in the day the box office finally beat Star Wars, and I was furious. And that started my decades-long dislike of
Gene.
E.T.
Such a petty reason.
Nobody should ever, movies. There weren't so many movies as there is today, like all the Marvel films and all this stuff. And Star Wars was just the #1 fucking movie in the world for years. And then Steven Spielberg comes along with this fucking E.T. movie, and he wiped it out. And I'm like, God damn it! And you know what? I think that was the same summer as Poltergeist. And and we can have a 3-hour discussion about how much did Toby Hooper really do with Poltergeist?
Right.
Because you can see I think he directed it, but then Spielberg came in and did all the shit like the remote cars and the beer and all this stuff in the beginning. I mean, it was a Spielberg film, but I mean, I think it was out the same year, wasn't it, as E.T.? And it was definitely the film I preferred out of the two of them. Like I thought Poltergeist was far better.
Well, I'm going to give a plug here. My next essay for Drive-In Asylum, the wonderful fanzine that Bill does, give him a plug, has a story about the first time I saw E.T. on a sneak preview. And the other film playing with E.T. was, wait for it, The Story of O.
What?
I am not making that up. So the essay is going to be called Emmanuel in Disney World and Other Weird Tales of a Trash Film Lover. So look for it in the next issue. That is if Bill thinks it's good enough to publish. I mean, if you think it's good enough to publish,
Nicholas, is it? That really happened?
No, it really happened. And I describe in detail how it happened, that it played a double feature with The Story of O and what the audience was like. And you'll just have to wait for it. It's another in my...
That's insanity. That there's no... This makes any sense.
It's another in my series, what I call my trash trilogy, because I wrote Grindhouse Memories Across the USA, and then last issue was I Was a Teenage Drive-In Projectionist, and then this will be the next one.
It's like the time they did that double feature of Xanadu and Caligula.
Yeah, right.
I'm kidding.
No,
somebody out there will be researching that.
Yeah, they're looking at Mike Justice is looking it up right now. But no, seriously, I did see a double feature of The Story of O and E.T., and I'll tell you all about it. So stay tuned to the next issue.
Mike says he never watched it because E.T. wasn't cute or evil, so there was no point.
I think it's a really good movie. Don't get me wrong. I mean, technically speaking, and looking back over the years with what Steven Spielberg did, his whole history of films, I think he knew exactly what he wanted to do, and I think that's what made the film come back and made it like a Disney classic essentially. Is what
Yeah, it is a Disney film,
he
really.
captured in the 1980s sort of what he's always been. I'm not a big Spielberg fan because I'll tell you why. He's very overrated, and he tends to get very self-indulgent with stuff. Is what the problem is. Like scenes in movies with his movies going way too long, like the RV on the cliff with the cracking glass and the dinosaurs. Or the whole second hour of Jaws seems to go on forever. I mean, it's classic, but really he gets very self-indulgent. And I think that he did a great job recapturing a lot of the essence of everything that movie.
Did you just criticize Jaws?
I am not as big of a fan of the original as I am of the sequel, and I apologize if I offended everybody out there. But I like the wackiness of the kids on that and the ridiculousness of the giant, the cable and all this stuff. I enjoy the pacing.
Yeah, it's definitely way more insane than Jaws. It's so silly that you just sort of get sucked. I hated Jaws 2 the first time I saw it. I was like, oh, this is shit. At 9 years old, seeing it on HBO, the film critic.
I didn't think it was shit. I saw the third one in the theater in 3D and couldn't believe that my parents.
Well, it's not the original. It's like Halloween 2 versus Halloween. It's not the original film. But if you just let go of the fact, just let go of the original and go with what the sequel is, it's gonzo. It's absolutely gonzo, just like Halloween 2 was. Like it kept getting like crazier and crazier and crazier until like it was batshit crazy at the end. So that's what I like about Jaws 2 now. Like I can get into it now.
Mike says, "Who was the hotter piece of Snatch? Was it Spielberg or Jeanette Schwartz? I don't know. I can't say I've been sexually attracted to either of them, but
Jeanette Schwartz, I would say,
Jeanette.
Definitely.
I call him Jeanette. But anyway, it's a fun movie. That's the bottom line. It's a fun film. And they're both excellent for what they are. My criticism is not with Jaws. It's with the fact that I think Spielberg is very self-indulgent, and sometimes scenes go on way too long. Like, I love Close Encounters. It's one of my favorite science fiction movies of all time. It's epic. But, how long do we need to watch him and, what's his name, Richard and his wife fight with a fucking mountain in their living room? It was like, I get the point. Let's see the aliens. It's been 5 hours. You know what I mean? So that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
See, Gene, I love Spielberg, but I think Close Encounters is overrated. I know. Flame me now. I don't think it's one of his stronger films.
No, you know what? I think you're absolutely right, but I just remember the feelings that it created for me when I saw it in the theater, and I went back and saw the extended.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the whole thing of the aliens in the end of the film. Again, he did a great job with these films because there was nothing that kind happening with aliens in the 1970s. There really wasn't. You know what I mean? And it was like some of you will get this. We had Star Trek on one side and Star Wars, and there was always this ridiculous battle between the two of them. They have nothing to do with one another except for Star. And it's the same thing with Star Wars and Close Encounters. You know what I mean? It's like they were the big movies until Alien came along, and you didn't compare the two of them. You couldn't say one was better than the other because they weren't the same type of movies. And that's why I like Close Encounters. I just thought he did a fantastic job with it. It was something that made you feel great wonderment. You know what I mean?
Close Encounters, it tapped into that 70s thing about UFOs too.
Right.
Absolutely.
That movie didn't exist in a vacuum. There was a huge upsurge in interest in UFOs at that point, and everyone was coming forward. This was when, the stories of alien abductions
and Barney Hill and Project Blue Book.
It's interesting how like the descriptions of the aliens always change. Like people who were claimed to be abducted in the 40s and 50s saw robots, and then like people who claim abductions in the 60s and 70s they saw the grays with the big bug eyes and everything. So Close Encounters tapped into that. It really made you believe that this
Five
could be
balloons for the third
possible. You
time.
know, that's it was just magic to me.
I
I
see you
didn't care
found
about all the
another.
long, boring shit. You know, I
I
love
see you
that.
found another ad there, Bill. Look at that.
This is from Mike Justice. Mike,
Oh,
I
Mike, yeah,
love
Mike
you, love
showed
you,
me
love
that
you.
earlier this week. I forgot. Yeah, Mike found that, and it's Scranton. I used to work in Scranton. My
Thanks a
gosh,
lot,
look at
Mike. If I would have had this
Awesome.
ad, I would have had all these keywords. I could have searched for more of them.
that. Now,
But it,
that's a totally misleading ad here because it says the plants are watching, and it makes it seem like the plants are evil. They know all. Watch what you say and do. It's like, no, the plant's good here. You'll see in the movie. Wow, the Ritz Theater. I wonder when that went out of business.
Nora, you reminded me, Melinda Dillon just passed away not too long ago from Close Encounters.
Yes, she did.
There's so many people dying. Stella Stevens, Raquel Welch. I
know. Sad.
It hurts.
Yeah.
I mean that sincerely. It
No, I
hurts.
know.
It hurts to lose these people because you just, even though
you love them.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you
You
one
love
thing
them.
Stella Stevens has been doing, but just like knowing that she's gone, you know, there's a certain finality.
Well,
about
you know,
it.
she was trapped in that fucking boat under the water all those years. So.
Right, like Eva in Ghost Story.
Yeah, but by the way, how many first timers do we have tonight for The Plants Are Watching, aka the Kirlian Witness?
I think this would be easier to ask who has already seen
Oh
it.
yeah, you're right. Who's seen it? I have.
Okay. I honestly can't remember seeing this film. I don't have any knowledge of it.
Well, you're in for a treat. It's a good movie. I think people are going to enjoy it. We'll talk about it in the next segment. See what people think. But you know, there was another film, by the way, Bill, that was originally called The Kirlian Factor until they changed it, and that was Psychic Killer. Remember, Jim Hutton was the guy who was in the mental institution that he would lean back like this, and then he would like astral project and kill his enemies.
No, it's handy.
Yeah, wish I could do that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has seen this movie.
Good.
Well, Frederick wasn't sure, so there's a maybe, and I have seen parts of it because when I cut
put the trailer together, yeah. No, it's. I think people are going to dig it a lot because, as I said, it's bonkers science. It's extremely well done. It's not campy at all. I mean, they play it totally straight. Like, here's your mystery, and it's very noirish and very giallo-ish. You'll see. And we'll talk about that when we come back in the second segment.
Is Kirlian Dulé in Black Christmas? Yes. That's great. Oh my God. Thank you, Tim.
Kirlian Dulé.
Kirlian Dulé. There you go. Kirlian.
I don't understand Keir Dulé in Black Christmas.
I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but you know what? I don't know what's going to happen tonight, but somehow the Osmonds are involved in this.
You know, one thing I'll say before we go, this is like a total geeky thing that we can talk about briefly, is the idea that Billy is not the only killer in Black Christmas. Somebody wrote about this in Drive-In ASYLUM, and I can't remember who it was that put this together. But it was like this perspective on it that really, one of those fan theory things, you know, but it makes sense because.
So who in the world would it have been? You know,
it was Peter. Peter killed the cop in the car because there's no way Billy could have killed the cop in the car.
Right.
And Peter was outside lurking around the house. So Peter killed that cop.
Well, from the actual words of Lynn Griffin, and she said that, and I asked Lynn this first time. I've known, Bill knows her. Bill interviewed her actually as well. Lynn's a great lady. She's on Facebook. Awesome. She sells these fantastic ornaments. Nice. Yeah,
I loved talking to her. I interviewed her. I interviewed her for Drive-In ASYLUM number 13, and she was so nice to talk to.
I had the pleasure of meeting her many years ago, and she one of the first things I asked her was, I said, what was Bob Clark's intention for who the killer was in that film? Because it's always been controversial that you never know if it's really him or Peter is involved. And she said that Bob's intention was that they would never reveal who the killer was. You were not supposed to know who the killer was. So, But I mean, I think Peter could have very well been a second killer in that movie. You know,
They toyed with the idea. I don't know if they ever shot it, but there was an ending where Chris reveals himself to be the killer. That like Jess wakes up and he's. I don't know if they ever shot this, but there was a scripted element to it where it was going to be Chris was going to she was going to wake up after being in that bed under sedation, and Chris would be sitting there and he'd say, "Agnes, don't tell what we did," and he would grab her. So they had toyed with the idea of revealing the killer, but ultimately they didn't, which was a much better way. It's so overrated to explain why everything's happening.
That movie has the most chilling telephone calls in any film I've ever seen. Agnes,
oh my God.
It's me, Billy. Where's the baby? And then the best part is when Margot Kidder, is yelling at him because she's the drunk and the crazy one. And he's flying off the walls and screaming and carrying on, and you hear a baby crying. And right before she hangs the phone up, he goes, "I am going to kill you."
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah, I remember seeing, the various releases for Black Christmas. You guys probably would have access to this or have seen it. The information about who was it? Was it one of the sound editors or somebody? It might have been Carl Zitterer, who actually, by the way, lives in Pittsburgh in Mount Lebanon.
Oh, does he?
Yes, he does. He, believe it or not, what a weird coincidence. He
Wow.
lives here now.
We just draw them in here in Pittsburgh, don't we?
Yeah, we should get him on the show. Doug Bradley lives in Pittsburgh too, Pinhead.
Yeah, Doug's over in Monroeville.
Yeah.
I should ask him. Doug would totally do the show. Doug is one of our regular customers at our drive-in.
I see him every time I go.
He's awesome.
And he's so nice. He's so nice to everybody. There was somebody at the show in September, and they were having like this. They were like this. It was like, "Hey, I want to ask you for a selfie." I'm so scared. I'm like, "Fucking walk up and ask him for a selfie."
The first time I saw him, I didn't know he lived in Pittsburgh, and I didn't know it was even possible for him to be at the drive-in. And I went into the snack bar, and he was just standing there, and we like did one of those things where we were looking at each other. I was like, "You look like Pinhead." It was like it's me. I was so freaked out. I was like, I didn't know you.
It was Tom Savini's birthday party. He actually threw a birthday party for Tom Savini one year in September and handed cake out. It's posted on the drive.
I saw those pictures. Yeah.
Yeah. They came to me and said, "Do you care if we do this?" And I said, "Do you care if we film it and make ourselves look better?" It's like
you should capitalize on that.
Find Tom Savini having a birthday party at our event.
I usually don't approach people at the drive-in though. Like, I only said that to Doug because I didn't really know it was him. But I saw him in the snack bar the last time I was there. I didn't say anything because he was talking to his girlfriend, and I was like, I'm not gonna walk up and be like, "Doug Bradley, remember when you had all those pins in your face in Hellraiser?" So I've never approached Tom Savini. Like, I've seen him so many times in public.
Tom just comes, Tom's there. Tom camps out actually, and a couple of things about Tom. I actually have a lot of good stories. I've known Tom since the late 70s, early 80s.
He made you vampire fangs, I remember.
He was going to and never did. That's when we used to hang out at the club
at Metropole.
Yeah. Tom, I used to shop in the same stores, like comic book stores and stuff, Ides and Jim's CDs, and I would run into him. But anyway, a couple of things real quick here. He has cooked breakfast.
Real quick, because we got to get to the movie.
I know. He's cooked breakfast for many people at the drive-in if they stayed over. He camps there, and he's always readily available during Saturday afternoon to approach. He's very approachable. And then the other latest good story is that he forgot his orange cones at the drive-in, and Emma texted Leanne, and Leanne and I took the orange cones with us. Leanne and I do the box office at Living Dead Weekend, so we took George's cones to him, or Tom's cones to him. It was so weird. It's like we're delivering cones to Tom Savini. So who knew? What a crazy world. But well, thanks guys. I appreciate it. Had a good night, and I'll be around if anybody has any questions about the drive-in. And George and I will see you at the movies.
Bye, Gene.
It was nice having you on the show. Thanks for doing the segment.
Thank you very much.
And all of you, I dropped the link to tonight's first feature, The Plants Are Watching, into the chat, so you should be able to find it. If you can't get the link, just enter. I put the key terms up here. Kirlian Witness, 1978. There's a nice print of it streaming free on YouTube. So go get it. We're going to give you some time. We're not going to be back right when the movie's over, so we'll give you a couple minutes and make sure you come back afterwards. Sam will be here. And Nicholas will be here as well. And Gene, thank you so much for doing the show.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have fun.